Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rahakodash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, and shalom to all of the Archeum teaching this word around the globe with faith and truth and sincerity. I'm the brother Caleb from the GMS London Forecasters Camp, back with another lesson to help edify the Lord's elect. So as always, I like to start by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites, and the real Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, and West Africans predominantly. However, you are going to find Israelites that do look like the other nations, because we as a people have been scattered amongst all nations throughout our various captivities. But if your seed line by your forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible that was named Israel, then you too are an Israelite, no matter what you may look like, because the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 18, states that your nationality is determined by the lineage of your forefathers. And once again, to clarify, the names that we give reverence unto are Yahweh, which is the name of the God of the Bible, the one true name of the Heavenly Father, the Most High. His name is Yahweh, which means He exists, He is, or He exists. And His Son's name is Yahweh Shai, which is the one that the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. His name is Yahweh Shai, which in the Hebrew means He saves or He deliverer. Okay? So I was out and about the other day and I saw this large poster advert, and I thought this is quite striking. So I thought I'd do a quick lesson speaking upon it, because the thing that I thought when I saw this was that it's very interesting. This is an advert from Gucci. So you should know that whenever you see these adverts from these designer companies, they've employed their witches and their warlocks, to come up with these images. So there's a lot of thought and intent that goes into the creation of these images. Now, the reason why I found this interesting is because you've got these two models here, and they're sitting at this table with their Gucci bag or whatever. Now, you've got one that looks like an Edomite here, which is a so-called white person. Their biblical nationality is the nation of the Edomites. Sitting at the table, you've got this Edomite, and you've got what looks like might be an Ammonite here, or a Moabite, and she's eating from the table. And this Edomite is feeding this Ammonite here. Now, this Ammonite has a tiara on her head, which could be considered a sign of royalty. But yet she's eating from the table of the Edomite. The Edomite is spoon feeding her. So I thought this is a very interesting image. What are they trying to say here? Well, what they're trying to say is that, well, Esau is the chief. The Edomites are the chief nation, and all the other nations are eating from the abundance of the delicacies of Esau. Esau predominantly being Babylon the Great, which is America. So all of these other nations, they are have waxed fat through the abundance of her delicacies, which ties into Revelation, the 18th chapter. So that's just and also you've got the Ammonite here wearing a blazer, which is a man's attire, but it's a woman wearing a man's attire with a tiara on her head, showing that the woman has dominance. The woman has dominance over the man in this society. Because if you remember in Revelation, what did John see? He saw the woman sitting upon the beast, right? And she had a cup in her hand, filled up to the brim with all the filthiness of her fornications. Now, the interesting thing is that this Edomite woman here, she's got this fur thing on, right? Which could be considered, luxurious attire, but yet you can see her underwear. You can see her undergarment there, so that could be considered the attire of a harlot. So there's a lot going on in this image that you can read. But let me get some scriptures to give some edification to what I'm saying. Revelation 18:1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven with great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. Now, Babylon means land of confusion. Now, you can see there's confusion in this image here, where the woman has assumed the position of the man by wearing the blazer, but yet is eating from another woman. She's being spoon-fed by this other woman. So this woman, the Edomite woman, is in the position of authority, and the Ammonite-looking woman is in a position of subservience. There, so it's showing that Esau rules over the nations, right? So let's get this again. It says, And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations, here's the point, Revelation 18:3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now, if you look at the food that's being served here, this isn't like food you would eat to sustain yourself. This is luxurious, delicate food, like these small ass portions. They call it, what do they call it? Gourmet restaurants, gourmet meals or whatever, where you got these top Edomite chefs serving up these little shitty little portions, which nobody's getting full of, and they're paying big money, top dollar for it. So back to the scriptures, it says, for all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. So this woman here, this Ammonite-looking woman, as I said, wearing a man's blazer, but as a tiara on her head, which could be symbolic of royalty, she's in the position of a king, and she's waxed rich through the abundance of Babylon, this Edomite's delicacies. Very interesting imagery. I mean, when you get into reading and understanding art, it's very, very interesting. This is just, something that I'm into. So read on. It says, and I heard another voice from heaven, Revelation 18:4, saying, come out of her, my people, right? Who are the Lord's people? The Israelites. You can link that precept with Deuteronomy 7 and verse 6. We are the Lord's people. So it says, come out of her, meaning come out of Babylon the Great. Micah 2 and 10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, for it is polluted, and it shall destroy you, even with the sore destruction. Micah 2 and 10, that precept links up with this. Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Now, I've got a funny image to tie in with this, right? Because I saw this image there, right? Who have you got on the screen? You got that nigga Snoop Dogg, right? And he's there. He's not being fed by the Edomite. But you got the Ammonite-looking woman here again, eating, feeding herself. And Snoop's there with a little morsel. And she's there it's funny because Snoop's a man, right? Or he's supposed to be a man. But he's in a subservient position to the Ammonite-looking lady. See, Esau thinks he's slick, man. He's put Snoop Dogg in here. And now Snoop Dogg's a fucking sellout anyway, but he's put Snoop Dogg in there, right? And Snoop Dogg represents, I suppose, the Israelites, right? But you got the other nations doing better than Snoop's looking. Oh, wrong picture. Back to what was that? Where's Snoop? There we go. See Snoop there having to serve himself from the other nations' table. That's kind of like Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, where it says, you should go to your enemies for the want of all things. Now, Snoop used to be some so-called gangster character when he first came out with, what is his first album, Doggy Style. He's going on with the street, gangster image. But look how far we've come from that. Now he's wearing fucking silk suits and cowboy hats, looking like fucking that Little Nas X character. It's just all a joke, man. And, Snoop was just an actor anyway. When he first came out, my brother used to be into that gangster rap shit. And, he'd worship Snoop and Dr. Dre and fucking NWA and all them characters, like, and he actually believed it was real. So there he is, bopping his head to these beats, believing in all the things that these guys are saying, which they've been told to say by their handlers anyway. If you don't know who their handlers are, just, look no further than JOOS. Who controls these people. But it's interesting because this is a counterpoint to the other image I just showed, where, as I say, the other nations are doing better than us, Jake. And Snoop's a sellout anyway. So he's sold out and he's got his little morsel there. But he's going to be a partaker of the destruction, So let's go back to the scriptures, Revelation 18. It says, and I heard another voice, 18:4, I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High God have remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. Going back to this other image. Glorified herself and lived deliciously. You know, she thinks she's got it all. These Edomites think they got it all. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God that judgeth her, who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, back to this image again. See, they've lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her, and they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise any more. See, all these Gucci bags and shit, ain't nobody going to be buying these anymore. See, the other nations think this is hot. They think it's popping. They think it's cool to have these bags and this shit. I mean, just here in the UK, if you go and buy Selfridges, whenever they're having their sales around New Year's, Christmas, New Year's, you see a lot of these other nations queuing up to buy all this designer shit, and they buy it and they keep it and they think, yeah, we're doing good, man. We're living like the Edomites, you know. We're buying their merchandise. We're fashionable. Well, it says, and the merchandise. And all the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise anymore, their merchandise anymore, Salakia. The merchandise of gold and silver and of precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all tine and wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and manner of vessels of the most precious wood and of brass and of iron and of marble, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all the things which are dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which are made rich by her shall stand afar off, for the fear of her torment, and weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city, that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster, and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And when they cast dust upon their heads and cried weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein we were made rich, and all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour she is made desolate. So in 1 hour, Babylon the Great is going to be destroyed both by thermonuclear destruction and also by the chariots, because Yahushua is coming back to invade this earth with the chariots, pertaining to Zechariah 5, starting at verse 1. This is the curse that goeth forth over the whole earth. It shall enter into the house of the thief. So the elect are going to be saved by the chariots, but at the same time, the wicked are going to be destroyed by the chariots. Isaiah 66 verse 15. 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, goes into this. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High have avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians, remember I showed you that nigger Snoop, and of pipers and of trumpets shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman, of whatsoever craft he be, shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee, meaning there's not going to be nobody working in Babylon the Great anymore. Babylon's going to become a lake of fire, right? And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, and for thy sorceries were all nations deceived. See, a picture tells a picture can say 1,000 words, you know. So back to where I was. Last verse. And for in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and all that was slain upon the earth. So there's going to be a judgment because you shall not defile the land by blood. You shall not go shed the blood in the land, for blood defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So Esau defiled the land of America by destroying the northern kingdom tribes that were residing in America, destroying them and dividing up their land, and also the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, ended up as slaves in Babylon the Great, and a lot of them died there. A lot of lynchings took place there. Unrighteous dealings. What does Revelation 13:10 say? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, and he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So yeah, just a quick spiritual breakdown on that image, those images I saw. Thought it was very interesting. And as always, whenever you're looking at these flipping designer label images, you know that a lot of witchcraft and intelligent composition went into the making of these images. They're not just made willy-nilly. They've set the table a certain way, they've put everything on the table a certain way, they've dressed these models a certain way, they've picked these models, they've casted them, they've picked them for particular reasons, and they've lit the scene, they've got all the props in the background, all the makeup's done, all the hair's done. A lot goes into the creation of these images. So when you're out and about, if you've got spiritual eyes to see, it's good to pay attention to these things, because Esau's sending signals through these images and communicating his agendas to those who are in the know. Those who know how to decode the images, they know what this is about. But for the most part, the masses are ignorant when it comes to deciphering images and decoding things like that. So Lord willing, this has been edifying. Quick little hit. So with that, giving all praises, honor and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakakadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles, a great millstone at Ruwell. Shalom to all of the Akim teaching this word around the globe with faith and truth and sincerity. And Lord willing, I'll catch you on the next lesson. Shalom for now.